Hi, I'm Roger Morrison Architects. We've had our practice for 19 years now. In the last 3 years or so, we've been using Revit.
I'm Gary Page. I'm the training manager for Salessoft CAD Solutions Limited. We're one of the largest Autodesk resellers in the country. We're also an authorised training centre, and I'm here to talk about Revit.
He aroha arian te kai hoa ki te tuhi. Ai tuhi ana ngā whakaaro ki ngā pepa, a kia marama I te kai hanga.
I think the offer of 3D technology with the ability to manipulate a design, to view a design from all angles and evaluate it was really good for me because, I couldn't draw a building for nuts, but I can design, so it really helped me a lot. I get a real buzz out of getting to know my clients, getting to know what their likes and dislikes are, and then actually trying to translate that into something that fits their lifestyle, fits them personally, getting the satisfaction of seeing that result built and happy clients.
Pēra ki ngā umanga whānau kua tatipu ake a Roger Morrison Architects, kia matua tauia I tāna.
In the days when we had things on drawing boards and the client would request a change, like for instance he'd want to move a window or delete a window or something like that. If you imagine a set of drawings as a 2D interpretation, you have that window, that particular window, on maybe 6 different drawings. And so we would have to change every one of those drawings. If it was on paper, we'd have to rub it out and redraw it. There's a lot of room for error.
Autodesk was founded in 1982. 2 people in the development team developing this mechanical engineering program quite shocked at what architects were using at that time. They were still manually drafting everything. And so they took the technology and formed Revit Technologies back in 1997. The idea was the architects can work in a 3D model environment and all those traditional views are drawn for them.
Hanga ana ki te software 3D, ka taia ai te katoa mai te kiritaki ki te kaihanga, te kite I ngā whakaritenga katoa.
With the new technology, it treats the building as a 3D object. So if you move that window in elevation or in plan, it will move it on every other view of the building simultaneously. Your concentration is on the model. You don't worry about the views because you know that you can generate any number of views later on in terms of communicating to the builders and communicating to the client how the building's actually put together. So I can look over somebody's shoulder and say, okay, let's concentrate on this corner of the building. I don't quite like how that looks. Or let's try and modify it, and so we can actually try a few options. That's so easy to do.
Mā te Building Information Modelling, te BIM rānei, he mohio ai te katoa me pēhea te haere o ngā mahi hangahanga I a rātau e mahi ana.
Whether it's a small team of single users or a large team working collaboratively, where they have the architect's model, the structural model, again the services model, they can all share that single database. So the changes that they all decide on will be updated to all other users.
If there are changes incorporated in, say, the air conditioning system or the electrical work, all that's incorporated into the model.
Revit will ripple that change throughout the whole document set.
So we can start interacting with the other consultants in terms of how a building's put together.
So with that database, it gives the architects or engineers complete freedom to adjust things, go back in time and remodel things and just check alternatives the whole time.
Ko te huanga ka hoa turia e Revit ki te kai hoa, ko te ahei ki te mahi mā ngā ture katoa o te ao hangahanga I a rātau e mahi ana.
There's an increasing amount of detail required in council building consent applications in terms of how the building's interpreted and what have you. This particular project is a new house we're designing in Remuera. We had a lot of constraints which required us to model the building in a certain way to know that we were complying in all respects. The first thing we get is the surveyor's information that gives us all the site information in 3 dimensions, and we'll convert that into a 3D model of the site. And then we superimpose the council constraints over the top of that. Like we had a big tree that we had to clear off, so that defines that curve there. We can see where the areas of non-compliance are quite clearly. Another thing we do in 3 dimensions that the council seem to want these days is 3D plumbing schematics. We can actually show how all the plumbing links up in 3 dimensions. So we know where there's going to be issues, and so they're more likely to build it as we show it, rather than trying to work it out on site.
Ka hoa tu a Revit ngā momo tapu tapu kia tāia ai e Roger te tuhi ngā āhuetanga o te pāpangahanga. Kia tāia hoki e ia te arotahi ki ngā āhuetanga o te mahi pārama me era momo mea.
This is a foundation plan, but we do like 3D slab details. This is the drawing we normally require. This is what we give them as well. So we can actually see the depth of the piles, how they relate to the joists, how the joists butt into each other. You know, you can see a post there, but what you do is you relate that drawing to this one. You can see, okay, that's quite a shallow pile, and oh, these butt into that. You know, all that sort of extra information that you get from a 3D drawing like that you wouldn't get from a 2D drawing. I think the part of the problem in the building industry is ambiguity and in terms of interpretation of drawings and stuff like that, and that's where a lot of problems arise on site. Again, it's talking about communication, wanting to communicate as clearly as possibly. We just did a complex house up Whakaparoa. Basically, the roof forms are like sails. Front 2-storey deck is like the bow of a ship. Very few phone calls from the builder throughout the 8 months that it was built, because at the end of the day, it's how things fit together in detail that's going to count.
Beyond modelling the form, Revit comes equipped with a huge range of render-ready materials. So a material might represent a paint finish for a wall, and on Revit, without having to be a NASA scientist to dream up all the properties of that paint finish, there'll be applications like is it brushed, finished, or spray, or rolled. And so, you know, the architects or users can apply materials to these elements.
Ka whakainti arawatia e Revit kia kōrero ngā tahi ki ngā tangata katoa e mahi ana, mā tēnā ka tāia ai te tiaki wā, te tiaki muni anō hoki.
I think the day will come, and should come, when the builder will have a laptop and we can just email him the latest drawing and he can receive it within a few minutes. Our game is all about communication, and the more clearly you can communicate how that's put together and how it all fits and things slot together, then the easier it is to build, the less problems there are on site, and builders seem to love it, so hopefully the councils will come up to speed sometime.
Mo te kai hoa hoa e hangana i tōu whare moi moi a mā te 3D, ai nai nei ka tāia rawatia te mahi.